everyone, Jessica Cactus here. So in this video you might notice it's a bit different. Although yes, it is Legend of the Guardians related. And in the long run, Legend of the Amora related too. If you couldn't tell by the title, today I'm telling you everything you need to know about the Sundisk itself. Like how it works, how it was created, basically the long run and how on earth it came to be. How it works, how the whole algorithm of it works, you get what I mean. So let's not waste any more time and get straight into it. So the Sundisk, officially from Mystic Dragon 14's word, is a mixture between two different actual media artifacts. Those being the Triforce from The Legend of Zelda and the Dragon Disc from Mysticons. So to understand about what the Sundisk can do, we'll need to understand more about what both of these artifacts can be capable of. So let's start with the more famous one of the two, the Triforce. So you might know about the Triforce being the mascot, if you will, or symbol of the Legend of Zelda series. But what the heck does it do? How was it made? So let's have a little look at what the Triforce can do. So let's start from the very beginning. Before any life existed within the Zelda universe, there was nothing but chaos. In an attempt to bring order within this chaos, the three golden goddesses descended upon what would soon be known as Hyrule. These three golden goddesses were Din, the goddess of power, the red one, Nehru, the goddess of wisdom, the blue one, and Faror, the goddess of courage, who's the green one. I pronounce her name like that, don't judge me! Anyway, each of the three made something different in the land of Hyrule. Din, with her strong arms, made the land and the earth. Nehru poured her wisdom onto the earth and gave the spirit of law, like what makes it all tick. And Faror gave all the life forms onto the kingdom, who would uphold the law her sister Nehru made. With their labours completed, the three goddesses left the world, but they didn't leave their creation with naught. They left behind three sacred triangles that would be known as the Triforce. The Triforce of power is the one on the top, the Triforce of wisdom is the one on the bottom left, and the Triforce of courage is the one on the bottom right. The Triforce has the power to grant any wish to whomever wields it, as long as they have a balance of all three of the moral virtues. Those of course being power, wisdom and courage. If the wielder doesn't have this balance, it will split into three pieces, with the piece that represents them the most being stuck with them. The other two pieces will go seek off to find holders that represent their virtues. Those obviously being Zelda and Link most of the time. That's the most important part about the Triforce that I will explain in this video. If you want to learn more about the Triforce, I recommend looking at some of the videos. The video I used footage for is in the description, as well as one I think would be pretty nice to watch as well, because it's got jokes in it and I was laughing my bloody bums off. Anyway, let's move on to what the Dragon Disc is all about. Now, since I have never watched Mysticons, I do not know that much about the Dragon Disc, but what I do know is that it's sentient and has a mind of its own. And just like the Sundisk, which it's based on, can choose its own holders at will. Each of them being called Mysticons, with Princess Arcana, Good Fae, becoming Mysticon Dragon Mage, Zarya Moonwolf becoming Mysticon Ranger, Piper, Willowbrook becoming Mysticon Striker, and lastly, Emerald Goldenbraid becoming Mysticon Knight. And just like the Sundisk, there have only been 2 generations of Mysticons.
Now I feel underdressed.
So how similar is the Sundisk to these 2 artifacts? Well, let's take a look at the origin story to Legend of the Amora, and we can get our answers. So when the 5 spirit dragons, Pyros, Hydra, Flora, Dawn and Dusk all emerged, they put their essences together to create the Sundisk as a whole, which had the ability to alter reality. There's your Triforce bit. But they soon realised that if it ended up in the wrong hands, the result would be awful. So they came up with a couple ways to protect it. which is technically speaking where the Dragon Disc part of the whole thing comes in. Firstly, they gave it the ability to choose 5 holders to help protect it. Of course, those being the Sundisk holders. Each one will be given power from each of the respective discs. The discs of power, wisdom, courage, life, and death, respectively. The second thing they did was make Norvesia, which technically speaking is part of the Triforce's story when the Golden Goddesses created Hyrule to hide it on. They then made Aliris to protect it from the outside, and finally, last not least, they put their essence into each of the discs to make a safety lock to protect it from the inside. That of course being turned into the Sundisk of creation. So, is that everything? Not quite. There's still one more thing we need to talk about. Symptoms. Now, what do I mean by symptoms? You're all gonna be just like, hello, the Sundisk is not a disease. Of course it's not a disease, you idiot. Sorry, no offense. No offense. By symptoms, I mean if you have these things, then you're more than likely a Sundisk holder. So, what are these symptoms? Well, there are mainly 4 symptoms. Yes, 4. It just depends on the type of holder that you are, depending on the type of rank you get. There are 2 types. You've got your primary, which is your Sundisk holder, and your secondary, which is called the spirit holders. They're different. So I'll go over the Sundisk holder's symptoms and then the spirit holder's symptoms. So let's use Legend of the Amoras, episode 1, for evidence here. So, symptom 1 is what I like to call truth dreams. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, as explained by Delaney, those chosen by the Sundisk will experience glimpses of truth from a great tragedy. And as shown in the beginning of that episode, it's shown through dreams. The second symptom is called birth streaks. This is just very simple to explain. If the holders of the Sundisk are chosen from birth, which is pretty much very typical, the streak in their hair will appear on their head for a temporary amount of time. It will then fade away until the holders get their powers. This, speaking of which, leads into the third and final proper symptom for a Sundisk holder, known as the awakening powers. Now, this is mainly for the holders who are completely oblivious and didn't even know they were chosen, as shown by Victoria in episode 1. This symptom will only happen once the holder completes an action that is relating to the moral of that specific disc that chose them. So, for example, if you were chosen by the disc of power, you need to do an action of pure power. So when one performs an action that is pure to this moral, they will then get a coloured ring surrounding them, like this. As you can see, this is with Amber. This is exclusive footage from episode 2, so yeah, you're lucky. Second of all, they will then have their eyes go literal pure white, and they will end up in a void like this, 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 or this, depending on which disc chose them. Their respective spirit dragon will then actually show up, because they would have probably talked to them by telepathy earlier, which is more than likely the case. They will then get their powers, and the spirit dragon will then tell them what to do from then on out, and then they can transform straight afterward. And more likely, yes, the holders can talk to them in this void, but they aren't going to really meet in person. This is only really by magic purposes. So now, with all the main Sundisk holder symptoms out of the way, we only have one proper symptom for a spirit holder, known as the spirit dreams. They're very similar to the truth dreams, however, they're a bit toned down basically. It's a mix between awakening powers and truth dreams. The creation spirit that is correlating to the disc that chose them will appear before them in a dream, as shown by me in the first Legend of the Guardians episode, and in Troy's case in PLBC episode 7. As in the old version, that is. Promise me, this way will get executed much better. this symptom will get executed much better down the line. Trust me. So that's all 4 symptoms. So, is that everything then? Well, as I was editing this, I realized there was one more thing I needed to tell you guys about. And that was the 2 different types of the Sundisk. This was originally going to get mentioned in episode 8, but I might as well just tell you about it now, so that way you know. So the Sundisk has 2 different types of magic. Whether together or apart, each piece is as strong as one another. The first one of which is known as the Magical Force, or at least that's its beta name as of now. The name could get changed in the future, it might not do. I'm just staying out right here and now, just in case you come back to this after. So the Magical Force is basically everything behind all the symptoms we've just bloody mentioned and its own power as a whole. The second piece is known as the Spirit Souls, which, if you hadn't bloody guessed by the name, is just the SOC's own essence. I mean, they're speaking the guys behind the wish granting and everything, so why am I not surprised? So, with that, I do believe that's everything. This video took a couple days to make, so wow, what a ride. As the co-creator of Legend of the Amora, I hope this information has actually done you good. Now, there are many more secrets behind the Sundisk that not many of us know, so I'm hoping I've revealed a good amount of them for you. And with that, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you all for watching and learning more info about the Sundisk, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye!